Hello, everyone, and welcome to another informative episode of the Florida Business Forum podcast. Let's open the Florida Business Forum floodgates and let the information begin to flow. Here's your Florida Business Forum information guru and anchorman, Sam Yates. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Florida Business Forum podcast. And today, I have a special guest who is also a returning guest, Greg Batista. Greg is the president of G. Batista Engineering and Construction. Get that construction in there. And if you're a regular listener, you know that Greg has been on previously. And I had asked him right at the start of that particular program if he could come back for another show in the future because there was so much to talk to with him. And he graciously said yes. So he is back today. Greg, welcome back.
Good morning. Glad to be back, Sam. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I love Mondays, and I just enjoy the sunshine that we've had today, and it's a great day. So, I'm mentioning some things there that could be a little clue to some of what we're going to be talking about. For example, one of the things that you do, and I think it is a brilliant idea, is you produce guides to different things. Tell us about that.
I am one of those engineers that I love to teach. I love to empower people with information because I understand first and foremost that, doing engineering stuff and doing, construction stuff and is something that a lot of people who really don't know about these things. For example, people that are on the boards of homeowners associations, that they have these millions of dollars at times and they have to do certain things. Pull permits and hire contractors and things that are really, really difficult. So I've taken it upon myself, being part of a large family where a lot of us are either professors or teachers. I'm following in their footsteps, and I think I take great pride in being able to offer all these guides that I've done for free for people who want to pull a permit, to hire an engineer, to hire a contract, hurricane preparedness, the 40-year certifications, concrete repair, windows and doors, roofing. I have all these things which, that as all the years go by, the questions start to become the same. So I've taken 30 years of experience in dealing with people, and I've condensed this into all these guides that are absolutely for free on my website.
I have to ask, how long have you been producing these guides? And was there any one particular instance that said, wait, I need to do this for these folks, and it launched it?
Actually, my very first one, I did it maybe about 15 years ago. It's called the Concrete Repair Guide. Concrete repair is something that is there's a certain particularity, especially down here in South Florida, of how the things need to work. And these are not rules that I made up. This is enforced by the Florida Building Code. These are enforced by the different cities. And there's a certain process that needs to be followed with, the city inspectors, the inspectors from the special inspectors, the engineer of record, the owners, the banks. It's really a complicated confluence of different people having to come together to achieve one goal. And I would constantly go to these building meetings where you had, property managers trying to explain things. And I found myself repeating myself over and over and over again. And I did a series of videos and I did these books, and everybody started saying, man, this is great, because it's written in plain English. It's written in a language where residents who have no idea how to do construction, and it's got good pictures, and it's made in a way that people can understand it. And once I saw that people were really enjoying these things, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I can do one for roofing and one for, hurricane preparedness and things of that sort. I had a great start.
That is amazing. I don't think a lot of people put two and two together. They think of engineers as, well, if it's A, B, and C, then it's got to be D, E, and F. But that creativity goes beyond just writing guides. And I'm going to surprise everyone, perhaps, but those that know you are going to go, I know what he's going to ask next. But
Probably.
You're a huge fan of Bobby Cruz, as in Richie Ray and Bobby Cruz, and a friend with Bobby Cruz, the Bobby Cruz, salsa minister, someone who yet recognized another one of your talents. And that talent painting.
Yes, yes. Actually, Bobby Cruz was one of my first clients, and it was very weird because I'm as an engineer, I wanted to actually get into doing architecture when I was a kid. And I would tell my mom, hey, you got to pay for architecture school because I have this artistic talent inside of me. I need to let it go. And unfortunately, because of financial reasons, I couldn't get into the architecture school. And I'll take the second best one, which is maybe structural engineering, which is diametrically opposed to you being, having this artistic brain and then having to go into structure, which is very, blocks and numbers. So thank God that I as I was going through structural engineering, that I was able to also seriously take up painting, which I do in my spare time. And in my office, I have a studio where I do all my work. But yeah, Bobby Cruz, he's a friend. I did the album covers for one of his albums. And I saw that, I said, wait a minute, how many other painters are in the market, like painting celebrities, and then they come up and they'll autograph their painting, and like an original work. And I said, there aren't any. So I told Bobby, hey, can you sign this for me? And I'll keep it in my studio. And I sort of made a shift from doing, landscapes and buildings. And I did a shift towards actually painting people in a pop art sort of a realistic kind of way. So he signed it for me, and everybody was saying, "Oh, that's so cool! How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, he's a friend of mine." And the thing is that as I began to be very involved in politics and entertainment and things like that, I would run across, entertainers and famous sports figures and stuff like that, and I would paint them, and I would give them a copy of the painting. I mean, I have world-class athletes, MVPs. I have Oscar winners and politicians. And it's, if you go to my office, you'll see them all there, and all with autographs.
Coming back to Bobby, he also, I think, helped inspire you on how to price your art, because that's always, for anybody that's creative, probably the biggest hurdle to overcome is, I've done this. Now, what is the price that I might want to put on it? And it was an interesting backstory as it related to his album. Tell us about that.
Well, to keep it short, I'm not the kind of person who, and I'm blessed that I make, decent money doing what I do as an engineer. And I'm blessed where I only paint when I pretty much when I want to. And I'm able to put a high price on my paintings because, I've got all these celebrities and stuff. But one of the things that Bobby told me was, look, if you're gonna put a price point on these, it's got to be a high price point, because a lot of artists make the mistake, or I'll call it a quote unquote mistake, because it's really not a mistake. It's what the market shows. That if you want to sell paint, you can't be expensive unless you're one of these ultra high end type of artists. So one of the things he told me was that, look, if you put a low price on the paint, that will cheapen it. It'll just cheapen the but it's not that the painting is cheap. It's a psychological marketing thing that's out there, that if something has a low cost point, that it's really not that good. And that's not necessarily the case. And if you take a marketing class anywhere, they'll teach you that same exact concept.
Yep, if you give it away, it's free, and free has no value. You're absolutely right.
Except for my guides.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Now, before I forget, I want to let people know how to get in touch with you, not just for the art, but to get in touch with you for the engineering, the construction, and the art. How can they contact you?
You can just go to my website. It's askgbatista.com. And there's a reason why I actually make the website Ask G Batista, because I want to be the person that people contact. We want to be in constant contact with people. If you go to the website, there's many different ways that you can get in contact, whether it's either by email or form or calling, and there's somebody always live picking up the phone.
What's your favorite piece of art as we talk about the art? I picked on the Bobby Cruz, but do you have one that's a particular favorite?
I have a particular favorite one, yes, and it's when the Parkland shooting happened. I did a painting. It was more of a protest piece where I painted Wayne LaPierre, who at that time was the was the chairman of the NRA, and I painted him with two gobs of money in his hand and in his arms, and I called it Arms for Sale. And I painted that painting, and there was a protest from the actual kids of Parkland. And I went over there with the painting. It was one of the centerpieces of the protest, and the kids that were there, they signed it. Um, they signed my painting along with their age. And there were, politicians there, Patty Good or Angelo Castillo, even ex-governor Bob Graham, Maurice Ferre was there. They all signed the painting. And to me, I'm very proud, not just because of the actual painting itself and its aesthetic beauty, but because it makes a statement. And that to me is one of my proudest paintings.
I can foresee you becoming involved in politics, but I don't want to go there now. But I really can, just based on everything that I'm hearing, I could see you being in politics. I would almost predict it.
Well, there was a time when I was very involved in politics, very involved, and I was the politicians that I knew, and I knew a lot of them. They would say, "Greg, you got to get into politics, man. You're perfect. You've got the Latin, and you can speak. Y tú hablas muy bien en español, and you got the whole thing in the Florida and living here and being in business, and all these other stuff." And I told him, man, it's I'm a very generous person, and I love to give back to the community. But one thing I've seen in politics is that it's very life draining and life sucking, and you can do a lot of good. You can do a lot of good, not necessarily getting into politics, and that's sort of the way that I like to see it. But man, I think that if I did it, I think I'd be pretty damn good at it. But having a business like this and doing politics at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, I could seriously, I could see you doing very well in it. But that giving back to the community, you don't necessarily have to be in politics to do that because you're doing that right now. You give back in a lot of different ways, but after natural disasters, you're always there on the front line.
Yes, I've known for many years the folks of a company called Ashbrit, and they're a disaster recovery firm, and they're pretty much situated all over Florida. And there was a time whenever a hurricane came by, we would be there the very next day, early in the morning, helping people out, helping the governments out, because the first thing that we would do, we would get there and we would have to, like the EOCs, the Emergency Operations Center, get those up and running and get the government infrastructure running. There's a whole a plan in place in these municipalities in order to get everything back up and running. And I was very proud that I worked with these people hand in hand for quite a number of years, even outside of Florida. Like, for example, when the earthquake in Haiti happened, we were there a week after, flying in on a private plane because the whole airport was closed, and helping our Haitian brothers and sisters out.
I honestly have to give you a big round of applause for helping out. I have dedicated many years of communication assistance to the American Red Cross, but were it not for, and you said something very important, sometimes even the EOCs have to get up and running. So, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't have a terrible hurricane season this year, but suffice to say that you're going to be right there leading the charge again.
Yes, thank you. And this is something that I love to do. It's really from my heart, where I love to give back to the community and help. And it just so happens that I'm blessed that that this help in the community, it dovetails well into what I really love doing, which is my company, my business, engineering and construction. I feel totally lucky and blessed with that.
Personal question: engineering, construction, art, giving back to the community. How did that all come together in one person? Do you ever think about that? How can you be so blessed with all of these talents?
Wow, years of therapy have taught me that to go back into my youth and be able to find out, because that's a real question. That's a real question. But when I was a kid, I'm 50, I'm 56 right now, and I used to watch uh Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers was my hero, my absolute hero. I wouldn't miss him for the earth. Um After that, in seventh grade, I got a hold of a book from Dale Carnegie, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book, what I read in the seventh grade, changed my life. It changed my life because that was my very first taste of going out there and doing certain things so you can be successful in life. Later on, it became Tony Robbins. And by the time I was in college, I was obnoxious, one of those obnoxious kids that's like, I'm going to be a millionaire when I get out of here, and I'm going to rule the world, and I'm going to do all this stuff. And one of the tenets of Anthony Robbins is a concept that he calls CANI, CANEI, which is constant and never-ending improvement. And what Tony Robbins says is that, look, even if you're a captain of a boat, add that to your library of things that you have, because you never know, if you're working on a building, you can go back into something that you learned, or a knot that you tied, or something on boat, and everything in one way or another is interconnected. So as I was going through, taking that to heart, I was in a dance group, I did so many things, and it's helped me that the more that you get to know these things, the more that you're able to see the connections between them, right? Even one day I said, you know what, I'm going to go into Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is one of those places where they encourage you to lose your fright of public speaking, which is one of those skills is one of those skills that is really underrated. It's really underrated. And I was scared to go to Toastmasters, but now I graduated, and now I have this extra tool in my tool belt, where when I'm in places like this, I can have an effective speaking kind of theme, and people will understand. And so it sort of snowballs from there. So yeah, I do have a lot of things in my pocket. It's because I'm also ADD, so it helps.
Well, I have to say that all of the skills and talents that I see present in you, I think you're setting a standard for a lot of people to achieve, and I have to give you credit for that. I don't think we have too many true leaders anymore. So when you see somebody that's a true leader, I always like to say, "Nice job." So I'm telling you, nice job, Greg.
Well, I appreciate that. And it's great to see people who, like yourself, who wants to put a podcast together and trust me, I've done podcasts. Okay. So I know it takes work, and I know it takes effort. I know and to do this kind of thing, that automatically, that puts you in a leadership position where people look up to you, such as myself, that you're doing this day in and day out, and bringing knowledge to people, which is something that is very important for me too. So, kudos to you also, Sam.
Mutual Admiration Society has blossomed. But Greg, seriously, one more time, how can people get in touch with you for any of the things that we've talked about?
Yeah, just all you have to do is contact me. You can contact me through my office. I'm the president of my company. I got a bunch of employees, but I'm always accessible to my clients. You'll ask any one of my clients. I often give my cell phone out and stuff like that. But anybody can get a hold of me. They just call my office if you don't have the internet, and the office number is 954-434-2053. Live person always picks up during normal working hours. And or you can just go to my website, askgbatista.com.
Very good. Greg Batista, CEO of G. Batista Engineering, Construction, Art, Guides. Man, he does it all, folks. I want to thank you very much for being here on the program. And I somehow get the feeling you're going to be back on the program at some point in the future. And I'm fingers crossed it's not going to be post-hurricane, but would you come back for another show if I made that ask?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is great fun. And it's not only fun actually doing it here with you, with such a respected person, but also it's great just to know that other people are going to be listening to it, and they're going to be taking something out of it.
For our audience, I am always at heart a journalist. So Greg mentioned something to me in our last show prep that comes to the forefront. So Greg, I want to know, do you think you could talk your girlfriend into coming on to a show where we can talk about her a little bit. And the reason I'm thinking that is this is a business forum, and there's so many people in Florida, and literally this is heard around the world, but there's so many people that may want to hear what she has to say. And I will let you describe that she has her own business.
Yes, my girlfriend and I, we started a business, but first of all, she's a force of nature. She's one of the most intelligent women I know, and she's got a double master's degree. She's got a master's in sexology and in relationship therapy and education. And what she does, and she started this over in Puerto Rico, where we're originally from, is basically it's a relationship therapy / sex education type of business where she does lectures. She appears on one of the most popular TV shows in Puerto Rico. She's well known over there, and radio shows. And this is what she does. She fields questions from callers and from the DJs that are there. She also has her own therapy office. She's got a therapy office here in Fort Lauderdale. She's also got a therapy office over in Puerto Rico, and she sees lots of people who need help. And we all need, to one extent or the other, need help in the relationship, not just because not just maybe your partner, but maybe friends or family. And she's a wonder. She's a wonder. I'm so in awe of her, and I've seen all the people that she's educated and helped, and she's got such a talent for communication. So I think that, and I've always told her, Sam, I've always told her, like, look, you need to come to the States. Like, she speaks perfect English as well as I do, and perfect Spanish. And I always tell her, look, just get to the market over here. Try to push her over. But she loves her island. She loves her people. Actually, she's going to be walking through the door any minute now. But I think that she would be thrilled, especially if I continue to prod her on, saying, no, this is like a perfect place to maybe start opening up a little bit of channels to over here in the States, because I know a lot of people will be able to get some good information from her.
And I know that if you say it, miracles are easy. The impossible just takes a little longer. So if you say that, I'm looking forward to having her on as a guest at some point in the future. Greg, once again, it has been my pleasure to have you here on the program, and we look forward to having you back again in the future, and your girlfriend.
Awesome. I look forward to it anytime. Thank you.
And that's going to wrap up this edition of the Florida Business Forum as we continue our quest to fill the void that has been left by the business media disappearing. And we're going to fill that void with help from folks like our guest today and our future guests. And in the meantime, I'm Sam Yates. Have a great day, everybody. The Florida Business Forum is dedicated to showcasing Florida businesses and CEOs of all sorts to promote their business or not-for-profit in the only business forum of its type in Florida. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, have a great day, everyone, and stay tuned for more business.